The arrangement felt less like a match and more like a medical prescription. I, Julian, 30 years old and diagnosed with a severe case of pheromone dysregulation syndrome, was now contractually bound to an alpha 10 years my junior. I had aspirations for a partner I could connect with, not a boy barely out of his teens procured to stabilize my faulty biology. When he first messaged me to confirm our dinner, his tone was so brusque I almost canceled. Still, it was a necessary step. The moment the maitre d' opened the door to the private alcove, I knew I had gravely misjudged the situation. He was beautiful, not in a boyish way, but with a sharp, defined grace that seemed entirely out of place on someone so young. A crisp button-down shirt, dark jeans, and easy confidence in his posture. He looked up, his eyes clear and direct, and a slow smile spread across his face. He introduced himself as Caleb, his voice deeper than I'd expected. I felt a sharp, unfamiliar pang of something I couldn't name and had to physically bite the inside of my cheek to maintain my composure. I managed a nod, my voice sounding distant even to my own ears, and invited him to sit. He referred to me as Julian, but with a warmth that felt like an intimate nickname. I pushed the wine list toward him, explaining that I had already taken the liberty of ordering a few appetizers. He simply closed the menu, his smile widening, and remarked that he was sure whatever I had chosen would be perfect. I felt a quiet exhale of breath I hadn't realized I was holding. I had intended to keep things brief and professional. I stated my case plainly, that my condition required the steadying presence of an alpha partner and that in exchange, my assets would be shared. It was a business proposal. He just raised his glass in a toast, a glint of amusement in his eyes, as if thanking fate for making him an alpha. I felt the need to clarify further, adding that children could be a possibility, but only once my health had improved. He choked on his Merlot, the sudden coughing fit shattering his suave demeanor. I passed him my napkin, my fingers brushing against his. He held my gaze for a beat too long, his eyes damp and crinkling at the corners with a suppressed laugh, and thanked me. This was not the straightforward transaction I had prepared for. Our cohabitation began with a quiet awkwardness. The first few weeks, my own home felt like a stranger's. I would come across Caleb in the hallway and be startled by his presence, a bright splash of color in my monochrome existence. Now it has become a familiar rhythm. I've even grown accustomed to the smells that drift from the kitchen around noon. For the last month, he has insisted on preparing a light broth for me every day. When he has classes, he goes to campus. When he doesn't, he's here. He doesn't go out, doesn't have loud friends over. He started a small side project, a cooking channel. From my study, I could hear his cheerful monologue. He was Caleb of Caleb Cooks For You, announcing that it was Saturday, October 12th, a perfect day for chicken noodle soup. I pictured the comments scrolling by on his screen, some asking why he was always making soup, others praising the dish, and a few commenting on his looks. He had told me his cousin was a successful chef who had found a partner through his culinary skills. Caleb was clearly inspired. He deflected questions with practiced ease, explaining with a theatrical sigh that his partner didn't want him to overwork himself. When a new viewer asked if he was an omega, he leaned into his webcam, a smirk in his voice, and declared he was an alpha. I could imagine the flurry of question marks that followed. One comment must have caught his eye, something about an alpha wasting his life in a kitchen, orbiting an omega. I heard him murmur something in response, too quiet to make out, but the tone was soft, almost reverent. Then, a faint, happy sigh. Some of the comments were less than kind, suggesting he was aiming too low in life. He told me about them later, scoffing at the notion. He didn't need to climb some corporate ladder, he'd said with a wink. He only needed to climb into my bed. His bravado was amusing, but it sparked a question in my own mind. For all his flirtation, our arrangement remained strictly platonic. Why hadn't he made a move? He came home early that afternoon while I was still working. I came downstairs later to find his jacket slung carelessly over the arm of the sofa, a faint, foreign floral scent clinging to the fabric. I sneezed. After hanging it properly, I went upstairs and knocked on his bedroom door. There was no reply. I knocked again, louder this time, calling his name. The handle turned easily under my hand. The door was unlocked. A choked sob, barely audible, reached me from within. I understood immediately. His susceptibility period. I softened my voice, asking if I could come in. His only reply was the sound of his breathing, quickening with distress. I pushed the door open. The room was dark, curtains drawn against the afternoon light. Shapes were reduced to shadows, and he was a small, curled form on the bed. As I stepped closer, he seemed to shrink further into himself. I called his name, Caleb, my voice a low murmur. I knelt and slowly approached the bed. He uncurled slightly, his eyes finding mine in the gloom. I reached out and took the hand that was clenched tightly in the bedsheets, pressing my lips to his knuckles. His eyes were wide and shimmering with unshed tears, his usual confidence completely gone. He whispered that I shouldn't call him by his name, that he was older and it wasn't right. I felt a smile tug at my lips, telling him I liked it. He seemed lost, uncertain. I asked him why he hadn't called me. He explained, in broken phrases, that I was working and he couldn't disturb me. I gently chided him, saying he was the one who had bought and paid for this remedy. He should be more demanding. He insisted our marriage was an equal partnership, and he couldn't use my condition to burden me while I was so young. I laid my cheek against his hand, my expression turning mournful. I asked if his reluctance to call on me meant he didn't care for me. He denied it instantly, though he couldn't seem to articulate more. Seeing his flushed, confused face, I sighed. I told him next time this happened and I wasn't home, he was to call me. He mumbled that he should tell me. That wasn't forceful enough. I told him the correct answer was to call and warn me that if I didn't get back right away, he would find someone else. He blinked, and then a real smile broke through his distress, tears finally spilling over and tracing paths down his temples. He laughed softly. Then he whispered that he would never find someone else. He promised. He told me I didn't have to be so careful around him, that I should live my own life. A student shouldn't be burdened with these responsibilities. He would never leave me. I closed my eyes, trying to process the wave of emotion that washed over me. I leaned in, my voice husky, and begged him to let me help, before I lost control completely. Theory is one thing, practice is another. I had read extensively on the biological imperatives of an alpha susceptibility period, on the calming effects of an omega's pheromones, on the process of scenting. I considered myself a capable man. And yet, I was failing spectacularly. Caleb was sitting up in bed, looking dazed. I tried to suppress the corner of my mouth from twitching. He said it was okay, that for a first time it was really good. He could feel my pheromones now, and he was already feeling much better. He promised the next time would be even better. I covered my face with my hands. Enough. He fell silent, a soft chuckle escaping him. My mood was a complex cocktail of frustration and affection. I dampened a washcloth with warm water to clean the nape of his neck. If fate had made me an omega, why couldn't it have included an instruction manual? I was doing little more than making him damp. He asked, his voice laced with gentle humor, if they didn't offer physiology courses at my university. I shot him a dark look. They did, and I had aced my midterm exam. He had no response to that, only patting my head gently. Still, a new level of intimacy had been breached. I could work with that. An alpha in susceptibility craves comfort foods. Luckily, my cousin is a pastry chef, and I learned a few things from him over the years. This was my chance. From my study, I heard Caleb's live stream start up again. He was Caleb Cooks for You, announcing that on Friday, October 17th, he was making a lemon raspberry tart. I heard his keyboard clacking as he responded to comments. He was making the tart for me, he told them, because I was coming home early. The chat exploded with feigned jealousy. He just laughed, informing his audience that his husband was incredibly sweet. A new comment appeared that made him pause. Someone pointed out that I had never appeared on camera, questioning if I even existed. He was about to retort when he heard my footsteps on the stairs. He looked up as I entered the kitchen, still in my work clothes but with my tie loosened. I asked what he was doing out of bed. I hovered, ready to help him back upstairs. He waved me off, explaining he was just thirsty. I grumbled that he should have just called for me. He placed a finger on my lips to quiet me, then asked, his voice soft, if I would get him a glass of water. I smiled. I retrieved a glass and followed him back to his room. When I returned to my study, I pulled up his stream. He was back on camera, shrugging at a comment asking where he'd been. He had been getting water for me, he said, then declared with mock solemnity that he loved only me. My heart gave a small, foolish lurch. My attention was drawn to a thin curl of smoke rising from a saucepan on his stove. I sighed and went back to the kitchen. He hadn't had much of an appetite for dinner, but he ate the entire tart. Later, as I was leaving his room, he asked quietly if I would stay. He was afraid the fever might return in the night. I suppressed my elation and, after a thorough shower, returned to his room. Only a dim bedside lamp was lit. I slipped into bed as quietly as I could, but he murmured that he was awake. He seemed unused to sharing a bed. I asked him what my pheromones smelled like. He hesitated, then answered that they were like oatmeal. Oatmeal. I laughed, deciding it was now my favorite scent. Then he asked about mine. I feigned sadness, admitting that I was born unable to smell pheromones. Not even my own. It wasn't entirely a lie, humans couldn't. His expression softened with sympathy. I pressed my advantage, burying my face in his chest. His body went rigid for a moment before he tentatively put an arm around me. I asked if he would resent me for it. He answered seriously that he would not. So, I asked again, what did I smell like? He described it haltingly, like wood smoke, the kind from a fireplace in a cabin on a snowy day. He quickly added that he liked it very much. I snickered. Wood smoke to cook oatmeal. We were a perfect pair. He mumbled that people used gas stoves in the city. I burrowed deeper, insisting that oatmeal was best cooked over a wood fire. He sighed in resignation and stroked my hair. That meant we were meant to be. I lifted my head, a sly look in my eyes, and told him I'd heard him admit we were a perfect match. He was speechless. The next morning, I woke to the scent of wood smoke, stronger than ever. The susceptibility period. Caleb was still asleep, looking impossibly young. He stirred, his eyes fluttering open, and asked in a gravelly voice if it was my heat. My what? Right. I suppose it was. He sat up, his movements slow with lingering exhaustion. He turned his back to me and began to unbutton his pajama top, revealing the elegant line of his collarbone. The shirt slid down his arms as he presented the back of his neck to me. My throat went dry. Seeing my inaction, he seemed to realize his mistake and pulled the shirt back on. He crawled across the bed and wrapped his arms around my shoulders, a comforting embrace. My own pheromones, which I could only imagine, seemed to surge in response. He frowned, murmuring that it wasn't enough, and then he tilted his head up and kissed me. I froze. He had to do all the work, his soft lips pressing against mine, leaving him breathless. He pulled back, looking troubled, and apologized for his inexperience. I found my voice, wrapping my arms around his waist. It was a husky whisper. I told him to do it again. A blush crept up his neck as he realized what he'd done. He tried to pull away, but I held him fast. My jaw was tight, my eyes dark with an emotion I hadn't felt in years. I liked this, very much. When I woke again, I was alone. His side of the bed was empty, though the pillow still held a trace of his warmth. He had gone to the university right after his susceptibility period had passed. That afternoon was the university's annual family sports day. I had no intention of inviting anyone. Then I heard a colleague gasp, pointing toward the entrance. He asked if I saw that stunning omega. I glanced over, did a double take, and then turned back. It was Caleb. I looked down at my colleague and informed him that the stunning omega was my husband. I hurried over to him. He was scanning the crowd, a worried line between his brows that smoothed out when he saw me. He apologized for showing up unannounced, hoping he wasn't causing a problem. I felt a dizzying rush of affection and pulled him into a hug. My heart felt like it was going to beat its way out of my chest, a joyful, frantic rhythm. It was a strange sort of giddiness, both exhilarating and deeply calming, like being wrapped in a warm cloud. He patted my back, confused by my sudden display of emotion. It was over. I was completely, irrevocably in love with him. The sports festival lasted 3 days. Caleb only came for the first, but it was enough. The day after it ended, I went to his room to gather his sheets for the laundry and found the door locked. After several attempts, I had to accept the truth. He had locked me out. My world tilted on its axis. He came home late that night to find me sitting in the dark living room. He jumped, startled, then switched on a light. He asked with an amused tremor in his voice what I was doing. I stated that I was reassessing. He asked what I was reassessing. The light stung my eyes. I was reassessing why his room was suddenly off-limits to me. The humor vanished from his face. I asked if this meant he didn't love me anymore. He sat on the opposite sofa and told me, his expression grave, that he had been thinking. A muscle in my right eyelid began to twitch. He was older than me. I pointed out that it wasn't my fault he was younger. He looked down at his hands, saying that keeping me bound to him was a selfish act. He wanted to draft a new contract. Once his health was stable, we would divorce. He offered half his assets. I stared at him, my mind blank. He said he wanted me to be free. The next day, from my study, I heard Caleb in the kitchen, live streaming. He announced to Caleb Cooks for You that he was making a protest dish. Smoky barbecue pulled pork. The chat was confused. Someone asked if we'd had a fight. He gave a cold, dismissive no. Someone else guessed that I didn't love him anymore. The sound of a heavy cleaver hitting a cutting board punctuated the silence. He snarled that it was nonsense. Later, I went down to the kitchen. The air was thick with tension and the smell of barbecue smoke. I asked if he wanted to go out for dinner. He shot back, asking with whom. With freedom? I held up my hands in surrender. He exhaled sharply, his voice softening as he said no, he was cooking. I offered to help. He immediately stopped me when I reached for the vegetables, telling me the water was too cold for my hands. I stood there, feeling useless, his eyes full of a pain that was entirely my fault. This was a man who knew how to love, and I was breaking his heart. I told him to go watch television, that I would handle it. He hesitated, then asked if there would be any tart for dessert. I kept my face impassive. Lemon raspberry, he specified, watching my expression. When I didn't answer, he started to backtrack, but I cut him off. I told him he wasn't asking for the moon, and if I couldn't even manage that small request for my partner, I would feel useless. His shoulders slumped in relief as he left the kitchen. He brought it up again the next night. He said I had been kind to him. I couldn't bring myself to be cruel. The following afternoon, I came home from a meeting to find him in the kitchen. Sleeves rolled up, a sheen of sweat on his forehead. He was cooking. He told me to go relax, that dinner would be ready soon. I retreated, making sure to check that the rice cooker was plugged in. I was prepared to eat whatever he made, but I wasn't prepared for it to be quite so inedible. It looked and smelled divine. The taste, however, was a different story. I choked back a wave of nausea. He had made this for me. I looked at him, my eyes watering, and declared that it was all mine. He could eat the leftovers from lunch. It was his punishment, I added, for upsetting me. He just gave me a tired, helpless smile. In the middle of the night, I woke with a searing pain in my stomach. Cold sweat beaded on my skin. So this is what it felt like to have someone capture your stomach? I thought grimly. Caleb loved me so much he was trying to kill me. I had to get to a hospital. I tried to be quiet, but I stumbled as soon as I left my room, collapsing in the hallway. My bedroom door flew open, light spilling out. He was there in an instant, phone in hand, dialing emergency services. My vision swam. I grabbed his arm, my voice weak. I told him I didn't think I was going to make it. He told me not to speak nonsense. But I had one last wish, I gasped. He urged me to say it. I wanted to be his husband, I whispered. I didn't want a divorce. His lips thinned into a hard line. I clutched his arm tighter, a real sob in my voice now. I told him how much it hurt. He was frantic, promising that if I was okay, he'd agree to anything. Anything. He was true to his word. After a nasty bout of acute gastritis, Caleb was forbidden from entering the kitchen. I bought him a cake from a popular new bakery I'd heard about from some graduate students in my department. That evening, as I was preparing a simple dinner, he came up behind me and sniffed the air. He asked where I had been. I laughed, asking if he could smell it on me. I'd gone for cake and brought a piece back for him. As I opened the refrigerator, he commented that tomorrow was supposed to be sunny. I agreed. He then added that it would be a good day for washing the bedsheets. I paused, wondering if he was implying something, but dismissed the thought. He was too reserved for that. I just smiled and agreed. A long silence stretched between us. Then, his hand trembled as he caught the hem of my shirt. He couldn't finish the sentence. But I understood. A jolt went through me. This was Caleb. He was initiating. I feigned nonchalance and mentioned a temporary mark. He clutched my shirt tighter, his eyes darting away. He asked what if he meant a permanent one. His voice was a whisper, but I heard it. The tall, powerful alpha, looking down, his usual easygoing nature replaced by a raw, possessive hunger. My own instincts roared to life. I agreed. The next morning, after confirming he felt all right, I asked him why he had suddenly changed his mind about the permanent mark. He looked away, asking who I had eaten cake with the day before. I was momentarily confused before it clicked. The scent of another omega on my clothes. Of course, it was jealousy. I knelt on the bed and swore to him that they were just classmates who had recommended the bakery. I had bought them a slice of cake as a thank you, nothing more. I told him I loved only him, and I would never want anyone else. A dark blush stained his ears as he tossed a pillow at me and told me to get dressed. I used it to cover myself and leaned in to kiss him. He tried to turn his head, but I anticipated the move and caught his lips. After we were ready for the day, he was about to leave for the university when I opened my arms for a hug. He gave my shoulder a light shove. I feigned injury, collapsing dramatically onto the sofa and clutching my heart. A soft pressure graced my lips. I opened my eyes to see him smiling, a real, radiant smile. He whispered that he loved me. My heart hammered against my ribs. I managed to stammer back that I loved him too. He came home early that afternoon, setting up his laptop to work from the dining table. I watched him, mesmerized by the sight of his hands flying across the keyboard. He paused, then began typing 3 letters, slowly, deliberately. C. L. H. I looked up, stunned. He met my gaze, his expression serious for a moment before breaking into a quiet laugh. I escaped to the kitchen, my face burning. I would make him a celebratory cake. His live stream started. Caleb Cooks for You, he announced, was making a key lime mousse on this beautiful Saturday in November. The chat noted his good mood. He informed them that his husband loved him very much. I came downstairs as he was broadcasting, walked quietly to the fridge for a glass of water, and was about to leave when he grabbed my wrist. He asked if I had missed him. I looked at him, then at the camera, then back at him. I leaned out of the frame and kissed his cheek. He froze for a second, then reached up and wiped a fleck of cream from my face that I hadn't known was there. The chat was going wild, typing out mocking taunts. Then they all fell silent. Caleb tilted his head up and returned my kiss, this one fully on the lips. I grinned, leaning back into the frame of the camera. I told them we were in love.